Hi, hello, friends, lovers, and enemies of everyone, I guess. So I thought I would film this sooner, but stuff has been going on. So I am filming this after Passover. Oops. Was not anticipating it taking me this long to get to this. But Passover is a liberation holiday, if not the liberation holiday, so I figured I would just talk about that in light of the recent hate crime that was a murder spree done by a domestic white terrorist where he murdered multiple Asian women. My really good friend texted me and asked me if she could share her controversial opinion with me, and I love controversy. So she basically said to me she was upset that people could bring this energy, like caring about Asian American people, but not for the Jews, which, yeah, it's pretty problematic. She was like, where were the infographics? Like, people are making them for, like, everyone else, but, like, we seem to be the only ones talking about Jewish issues, and we're the Jews. Like, where is the caring from other communities? Like, it just doesn't seem as much. And she said, I find it so exhausting that Jews seem to be the only ones invested in our shared liberation. And, oh, there goes one of the cats. And I posited, and still I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm right, that the reason Jews are invested in our shared liberation and, like, really do try to, like, bring this energy of, like, giving a shit to all other groups is because of Passover and the fact that we are told every single year about the story of being liberated from oppression and are told that we are required to do that for other people. And you may or may not know, because maybe this is your first video of mine, what do I know, that my current job is supposed to be doing social justice work and education at a Jewish organization. Even though that's not the reality. However, I have done a lot of learning on this, so I thought, like, let me just, like, use the knowledge that I have to talk about, like, where this, like, imperative that Jews feel to do social justice work, like, even comes from. And especially, you know, because it's relevant this time of year. So the short version of it is we were once slaves in Egypt, and then we were freed, and as a result, part of our covenant slash revelation on Mount Sinai, because the idea is that every Jew was there. Every Jew who has ever lived or will ever live was there. Interesting. There's a lot in there. We're not going to get into it. Just take it as it is. But because we were freed and then have this covenant, we are obligated to free others from bondage and oppression. I really and truly swear to God that I thought that this was in some Haggadah, which is, like, the book that you read at the Passover Seder, that, like, we have to free everyone in order to be truly free. But actually, as I was looking, it seems like that was wrong, and that phrasing actually directly comes from civil rights activists in the 1960s, so we probably took that. And what I remember is from a more recent Haggadah than I would have thought. I love Passover. I think it is the best holiday. It truly just, like, is the richest in meaning of all of the Jewish holidays, and its, like, message and story has remained poignant and relevant to all Jews. So the most important commandment of Passover is to retell the Passover story, you know, the story of slavery and liberation. Also, if you are going to come into the comment section and say that Jews weren't actually slaves in Egypt for whatever fucking reason that you think that you want to believe, you will be blocked on sight. You're not getting a second chance. I don't give a fuck whether or not there's anthropological evidence that satisfies you. The truth is that it really doesn't matter whether or not there's evidence that satisfies other people that we were slaves in Egypt and then freed. Because this is a story that's been told over and over and over again for thousands of years, and as a result has worked itself into the fabric of Judaism and exists as one of the most important frameworks and obligations within Judaism. So it's more valuable simply existing and being retold every year than any possible like debunking could be. I do not have the tools or the knowledge to tell you whether or not we were, but it feels pretty fucking true to me. Someone else can fight me if they so choose, but like I said, you will be blocked. So while there are a lot of Jewish people who will connect to this like commandment in a very spiritual way, I don't connect to any of the Jewish holidays that way. And I feel like it honestly goes beyond like a spiritual pull and it's a little more important. Sorry. Like, I feel like it's more important than that because it's almost like the emotional and ethical obligation to fulfill someone's last wish, but more so in that it is like the ethical obligation to improve the world that we are all living in for everyone's sake, and also to provide the next generation with an even better world, if that makes sense. Probably does, and I'm just overthinking it. And if we're going to look more closely about the retelling of the story, it's not just that we're commanded or obligated to retell the story itself, but to see ourselves as though we personally were freed from Egypt. And I think this specific point is really what I want to like emphasize. And it's not just like the repetition of this story every year, but it's also that we are asked/told to relive it. And obviously reliving something is more powerful than hearing it more than once. So if we take a look at the section of the Seder that is the 4 sons, and specifically look at the wicked son, aka the hot son, he asks, what does this mean to you? And the Haggadah says something along the lines of, the son is trying to separate himself from you, from the Jewish people, because he does not see himself within that people. He wants to sort of like keep the holiday at arm's length because he thinks the laws for Passover are for other people and not for him. And so then the Haggadah says that we must remind him it is because of what God did for me when I fled Egypt. And like weirdly, when I was like looking at this, like tons of places like My Jewish Learning, which is like supposed to be a cool and good resource, it's not, though. I have lots of beef with 70 Faces Media, but there was like lots of weird, very ostracizing language that basically was like, fuck the wicked son. He's not one of us if he says he doesn't agree with every fucking word in the Haggadah, so you should disown him. Hi, actually, fuck you for writing that. Whoever wrote these blog posts and articles, because it was on multiple sites, fuck you. You're a bad person. Like, I was/am the wicked son, hence why he is the hot son. And like, look at me. Like, you can't encourage cutting off the wicked son because that's how we end up alienating people from our own culture. Right now, I've been in a lot of spaces where people have been reclaiming their Judaism, and it's pretty concerning how like widespread this issue is, where like everyone is like, everything has to be hard and rigid. Like, stop. You're not supposed to agree on anything in Judaism. That's like the whole point. So like, be nice to the wicked son, give him some time. Passover is where we get the idea of tikkun olam from. And I think the Seder itself aids in making that such a powerful idea. I am going to acknowledge that there is some like messy stuff within tikkun olam itself. Some people subscribe to the idea that once we have achieved this, or everyone is freed, that then the Messiah will come. Granted, I can probably count on one hand the number of Jews I know who believe in God, much less a Messiah. So, like, I think looking at it through that lens is, 1, gross, and 2, not possible for the work to be done. It's very much like, then someone will come and save me, which I don't like. One of the handful of interpretations that I have learned from my supervisor that I have not immediately felt like I need to push back on this and argue, because we have very different perspectives and entry points on a lot of things. But she has said that a lot of the writings in the Tanakh, or from like subsequent Jewish philosophers, are meant to be super idealistic, or seen as things to like strive towards, but that they aren't meant to be reasonable or achievable, which I think like makes sense. And similarly, I do find it empowering to see it as a goal that we could collectively create a liberated future such that it feels like the Messiah has come. Sort of a like be your own Messiah kind of deal. And now I'm going to bring in a quote from one of the hottest sages. He does, yes, have a sandwich named after him that we make at the Passover Seder. And this quote gets brought up a lot, especially around any time that there is a hate crime against Jewish people. So it feels related to the inciting incident of this video, meaning my friend's text message. Beit Hillel said, "If I am not for myself, who will be for me? And being only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when?"
So I ask you, if not now, when? If not me, who? Give a holler and hate me, go ahead, hate me.
Also, when I was looking this up, I also found out that Beit Hillel made the golden rule, and it's from my second favorite story in the Talmud of like all time. There were like these two sages who like had houses of study, Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai, and they were pretty much always at odds. And Beit Hillel was usually right, hence why he gets to have a sandwich. So a man came to Beit Shammai who wanted to be converted and asked Beit Shammai to teach him all of Torah standing on one foot, and if he could do that, then he would convert. And Beit Shammai said that this was impossible. So then he went to Beit Hillel, and Beit Hillel stood on one foot and said, "That which is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. That is the whole Torah. The rest is commentary. Go and learn it." Hot, sexy. I'm obsessed. I love it. I'm living for it.
I've been very sexy lately. I've been doing a lot of sexy stuff.
And the truth is that Black women, and especially Black queer people, have done the most and high-key the best job of creating effective methodologies for liberation. And like truly, like so much of the progress in social justice literally is because of Black women and Black queer people. And especially when it comes to the community-focused frameworks and like trying to rid ourselves of the like very hyper-individualistic mentality that exists, especially in the United States. Like we have Black women and Black queer people to thank for that. For the progress that we've made in sort of like shifting the ways that we do various social justice things. And that sort of community-oriented mindset is what is going to continue to allow us to create progress. However, we were sort of coming to this conversation from like, why does it feel like Jewish people show up for other groups, but no one shows up for us? And while that is not universally true, I think you cannot say that all groups of people are equally invested in each other's liberation for a myriad of reasons. But the reason that I think Jews show up and like come out for many different groups in their struggles for liberation is this methodology that Passover provides, which basically lights a fire under our ass and like literally puts the pressure on us that because I was freed from Egypt, I have to help others become free. And it's sort of this reminder or pressure of gratitude and paying it forward. And this methodology is like very unique to Jewish people. And really, there is no like one-to-one for other non-Jewish marginalized people, because Jewish people have this very like singular-ish origin story. It's really more of like a bottleneck. Like however we ended up getting to Egypt is how we got to Egypt. And whatever happened after Egypt happened after Egypt. But this story is the same across all groups of Jews, which is why it can kind of be seen as like an origin story, especially when it comes to like the origin of these main features of Jewish philosophy. And although it should be very obvious, I want to explicitly state that the onus is not then on the intersection of Jewish people of color. Absolutely not. That is ridiculous, because they have to contend with just unnecessary amounts of oppression and discrimination. It's not about like, well, we have this framework, so then we're the most responsible to do these things. It's not that. It was really just sort of like how to answer this question of like, why does it feel like we are collectively invested, but it may or may not feel reciprocated? And this feeling is also not the reality. But I understand and know and see that reciprocation is not quite exact. It's not quite proportionate, if that makes sense. I think the most helpful sort of thing of this methodology, where we are required to help everyone become liberated, is that it helps keep sort of the pressure and responsibility on various intersections of the Jewish community, like specifically white cishet Jews, because they are not at liberty to say, well, I wasn't in Egypt, so therefore this group's struggle is no concern of mine. That's kind of the whole point of the Passover story, is that we were freed / are lucky, and others should be so lucky. And guess what? We can help make them as lucky as we are. It's not quite luck, but that's sort of like the line of thought. The other times I explained it didn't make sense. I literally wish I could be succinct. But I can't. I'm like so allergic to it. I feel like I say this in every video lately, but like the onus is at a macro level because it's on all of us together, Jewish and not Jewish, TBH, to work towards our collective liberation in making a better world for all of us to live in. Then each of us individually will be living happier, more enjoyable lives. So yeah, that is that on that. I love Passover. I love the party holidays. Passover is like a sad party holiday. Do I also think that all Haggadot are horrendous and I really need to just like sit down and write my own version? Yes. Will I do that? No, because I will forget, and then it'll be like the day before Passover next year and I'll be like, wait a damn minute, I didn't do this thing. Yeah, sorry if it takes like a million years for this video to go up. I am having like a little bit of career whiplash right now and have to like get a bunch of other things done, and then I might be able to be more consistent. It's not that I don't have ideas. It is that I have other things happening. Comment down below, what is your favorite part of the Seder meal and why is it haroset? But yeah, feel free to like, subscribe, whatever. All of my social media is in the description box as is usual. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.
Whoa, whoa, Mamma Mia, here I go again.